So I got a little project going on my Subaru. If I remember last year for Christmas I put Christmas lights on my car. I just had 3 of my excess power batteries under the thing here, and just used my little inverter here. And the only problem with that was every night I had to charge my batteries. Now that I have an apartment, it's gonna be a little hard to, run a cord out to my car and charge it. So I'm gonna install these batteries permanently. 3 batteries in the back of the trunk area, and everything that I'm using is all left over from when I did the Corolla. The only thing I had to buy was this here, which is a 200 amp Stinger relay, because basically, the way it's going to work is these batteries here are always going to be powering this inverter, even when the car is off, and that'll keep the lights on, overnight, whatever. And so these batteries are going to die, well, run down at least, and then that way I can still start it off the 2 batteries I have up front. So my car will have 5 batteries total. But I'm going to hardwire this and try to find a place to mount it out of the way. I don't know how I'm going to mount it yet, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. And I hope to eventually actually install like an outlet back here and one up front. And I'm also going to be putting that voltmeter somewhere in here. I haven't really decided where yet, so I can tell what the voltage of my back batteries are. And I'll probably install another cigarette lighter, one that's run off of the back batteries, so that way if you want to plug something in and run it, without killing your car battery, you can. So tonight I'm just going to try to figure out where I'm going to mount my stuff. Fuse holder and relay. This thing's freaking huge though. It's 200 amp, which is a little bit overkill for what I need, but I couldn't really find anything smaller. So, because I'm only running 4 gauge wire, because that's what I have left over. Actually, I do have some 3/0, but that's way overkill for what I need, It's not like I'm running anything high amperage off of this, it's basically just a charge line to charge 3 batteries, They're not going to draw much current. 4 gauge should be plenty. So, yeah. So I got my fuse block mounted, bolted up front, which is a pain because I can hardly get around back to get that. And I used a Molly toggle bolt in the back here, put it through that hole. So, that's the most secure I've ever had a fuse block. Usually they just sit in the engine bay, or you use a self-tapper that comes loose a little bit down the road, but I just about fried my face in here. I was getting that tight. Here's my excess power setup up front. This was kind of my car battery died and I didn't have anything else, so I just kind of threw these in here. So it works pretty well. What are you doing?
What?
What are you doing?
I'm going to pick up my Chinese food.
Oh, cool. But yeah, I was tightening that up, and this thing here is just bare, and I accidentally touched my wrench across it, and sparks flew, and... What are you doing?
Nothing.
So that was a scary moment in my life. But yeah, that's all. It's in there. So I was digging around for a place to mount this behemoth, and I didn't really want to drill any new holes, and plus the size of this thing, there's not very many places to mount it with all this crap in here. Plus I was looking for a place to run the wire. I was looking down in here and I found this grommet. So I figured I might be able to run my wire through there. So I was looking at it, and so I pulled it off to see if it all went all the way through, whatever. And it had 2 holes on either side of the main hole, which happened to be the same size as my bracket. So I took and I Made myself some threaded rod bolts. They're a little long, I didn't cut them, I already had these made up. And I bolted it through the holes that were already there. And I double nutted it on this side. That way it'll bring the relay away from the firewall. That way I can cut the tabs off my grommet and pop my grommet back in here. And my wire should fit down behind the relay and into the grommet, in theory. So, relay come in here like that. And I'll bolt tight to those bolts there, and then there should be enough room behind it to squeeze the wire. So, we'll see how it all works out in the end, but I think it'll work. Yeah, that was perfect. Like it was made to be. So I made a little bit of progress here. I got wires made up and run. I don't remember if I had that installed yet last video, but I have it all installed now and wired up. It's pretty simple. I think I told you I found that rubber grommet. That all worked out. It's a pretty stiff mounting point. Got my grommet back in there. I got my grounded up there. And figured out that's not the best place to have my fuse block, because having it back in there, in order to get the fuse out, you either have to take off the bolts all the way or disconnect the battery, because there's no way you can really slide it up without hitting the fender. So, but, you know, it's not like I plan on blowing fuses, and if I do, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it, you know what I mean? So, I got a few wires here. Need to button up. That's my GPS charge line. Then these are for my removable doors. It's a bypass for the door switches. So when you take the doors off, you can flip a switch and it won't tell you that your doors are open. It only works for the front two doors though. But yeah, I never got around to zip tying those up. There's like a plastic piece that kind of covers this, so, but yeah, I'm gonna zip tie them up there. So I made the mistake. I had my gas pedal unplugged and started it up. Now I got a check engine light, but not a fan of the electronic gas pedal anyways. Gave me problems once before. Started my car up, put it in reverse. The gas pedal didn't do anything. It didn't throw any codes or anything, just sat there. So, but I shut the car off and turned it back on and it worked fine, so just gotta remember to hook that back up. And then I figured out with this car, if you sit there and you just take your key and put it back and forth a bunch of times, it'll reset your computer and it'll reset your codes. So I actually figured that out a while ago on my Frontier. But I ended up tapping power for that off this harness. I was going to use magnetic, but they have it done in such a way it's really hard to get to any of those wires to even figure out what they do. So instead I started playing around with this harness. I don't even know what it goes to. Just part of being a Subaru, you know, there's extra harnesses everywhere. So I tapped power. It's my positive line right there. And the instructions said that you're supposed to have a true ignition source which has power during cranking, which I don't see why you'd really need your relay to be on during cranking, especially if your batteries are dead. That's just going to draw more on the batteries that are trying to start the car, you know. So I didn't really care if it was true ignition, just something that turns on when the car is on. So that's that. I'll run my wire back to the back and get working on installing those batteries. So I made a little more progress today. Got two of the batteries in there. It's not done yet because I still have to add the third, which is in my dad's tractor. Once I get that third battery back, I can button up those wires. But it's my power coming from the relay. It's into this battery here, and then all the batteries are just going to be jumpered together. And there's my ground down, and I found a nice spot on the spare tire well. Drilled a hole, ground it down nice and bare metal. So, and then these are my wires. I already have my inverter wired up. That's the wires for the inverter. And this is for my voltage meter. Put that right there so you can see it from like the outside of the car. You know, walking by, you can tell what the voltage is of your batteries. Put my inverter in there. Don't really need it running, but yeah, I'm just drilling a few holes and putting zip ties around it. You know, no sense in going crazy. You know, figuring out ways to mount it, but it fits in there pretty nice. You know, you got access to this plug here, and this whole piece here pulls off. Get to the other outlet and the USB plug, which you don't really need back here. I just drilled a hole in the bottom there, ran my wires up and around, and right there with the power wire. So if I want to, I can take and put my cover back there. Can't tell that, so I can take and drop this down. Can't tell that, so it basically just looks stock, with the exception of that there. But then you open it up, and I left enough slack in there to where if you needed to get to the spare tire, you could. You're not going to have any problems, you know, getting to it. So you can move some stuff around.